Ladies and Germans, how are you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Ringroo, hello.
And folks, covering a little bit of the monthly tournament today, we are over here on Slutsk West. Rang, who do we have? What are they bringing?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have AS playing as the Lehr of a Maverick income, and on the right-hand side in the red, we have Nilla playing 6 South African armored with a balanced income.
Now, 6th South African, kind of fun to see these guys. Not really what I expected, to be honest, but there's tons and tons of vehicles. What should we be expecting here?
Yeah, lots of anti-tank, which will definitely help out quite a bit when going up against all the heavy tanks available in Lehr. They got decent infantry. They're just a good common Ralph style armored division. You know, it's not looking too good off the start, as the Puma is getting some pretty sneaky snipes right down the road and denying Nilla from actually getting into that critical town position.
But not to be outdone, there's a 17-pounder up north, takes 2 shots and takes out 2 Pumas. So that Puma in the middle is getting kind of endangered here already. So let's glass is still pretty half full here, I would say, for the South Africans.
Yeah, they're gonna be getting a pretty good foothold up here in the northern side. And yeah, nothing really too crazy from either side. No, like, rushes or, anything nuts. It's just slow, steady, 50-yard line back and forth.
But to be fair, I feel like that kind of something that plays really into the South Africans' kind of favor. Like, these are guys that are waiting to kind of get ramped up, waiting to get going. Yes, you can make the case, you can kind of build them into that more kind of rush division. But the way that Nilla certainly got them here, 15 Fireflies, 15 Shermans in C phase, like, that is truly, it's 60% of his equipment doesn't come in until 20 minutes in.
Yeah, you got a lot of allied style heavy tanks, pretty much stuff with 17-pounders, and playing them balanced does make good sense. Also, the M10s with the indirect fire support capability is definitely quite helpful, especially on a map like this, where it's just long-range engagements.
True, and that's why those M10s are certainly going to grouse about it if given the chance. But the rifles Piat's kind of moving on in here in the center side. We have another one of those M10s being shifted in, and I'm wondering, no. So that Puma is just barely, oh no, because of the smoke from the Assault Pioneers. Ooh, that's actually rather delicious smoke.
Yeah, that's going to allow him to get infantry in. And also he's got his M10 lined up on that road, so if that Puma decides to poke his head out, he's going to get popped.
I'm pretty sure it's woodchucks that peep their head out, but, maybe I've been wrong before, so Oh, sorry, groundhogs for all you romantics out there. But in the meantime, Bofors being brought on in, and this is something we haven't really talked about. Air for Lehr is practically non-existent. What's going on with that?
Yeah, he's just going all in mainly for the tanks and artillery, and also a lot of anti-air as well. Just enough aircraft to do a little bit of light bombing and light interception.
I mean, looking at this anti-air over here in the meantime, though, Gepards and Verbovins and Flak 88s, like, he should be fine the way that he is, all things considered.
He'll be good. We're seeing the M10 starting to open up, and due to just how clumped up AS's forces are in the town, he's going to be taking some hits, yeah.
Actually, I want to turn your attention to the northern side. There's a bit of a half-track push on the northern side, supported by a couple of Shermans, and that 6-pounder Portee, which is kind of like someone just took a technical and was like, you know what, man? This thing isn't heavy enough. Let's put a 57 mil on the back of that truck.
Yeah, the Commonwealth was really jealous, seeing how the Germans were just slapping Pack 40s on top of everything. Like, hey, we can do that too, guys.
Exactly, and certainly by itself has been able to shut down this half-track and infantry push that's going to come over here from the Lehr. And here comes the lone Focke-Wulf. It's one of those, you kind of have to wonder if Nilla has any idea that AS has exactly one plane and one plane alone, because, well, he,
oh, wow.
That was an interesting decision. I thought he was maybe blind bombing, but not even that.
No, he is just gonna bugger off bombing more like, and that Bofors is gonna be excited to actually have a target to shoot at here. And we've also seen AS has invest quite a bit in Jagdpanzer 4s. He's got 2 of them out already. And usually Jagdpanzer 4s are, a damn good tank to bring in, especially in 1v1s, a nice middle ground between a Panzer 4 and a Panther. But in this case, where there's 17-pounders all over the place, it's going to be a bit hard to maneuver those Jagdpantors around.
You know, and that's actually one thing that's a little surprising to me is the ridiculous 17-pounders, two 17-pounders in Phase A, already picking up a grill, they're taking a couple of Pumas to the north. Yes, it's 15-9 right now in favor of AS, more or less because of a single half-track down here to the south, but I get the feeling that the northern side here is going to be pretty difficult to hold if you're the Panzer Lehr.
Yeah, it's just the slow grindiness of that long-range anti-tank, and there's not a whole lot of cover for your tanks to take, and those 17-pounders can very easily zone out the open areas of the map. And, well, you get into the problem of, okay, do you invest in Panthers and Tigers? Because, by God, they're pretty thick. But they're still not thick enough to completely survive a 17-pounder shot, but they're a bit better at dealing with the Sherman spam, which is coming his way.
Exactly. But that's the power of the South Africans, is that, again, they wait long enough until that Lend Lease stuff comes in, and then skadoosh. Now, unfortunately, that Pack 40 right now is engaging the Assault Pioneers out in the open, and not really doing a whole lot. Indeed, it's him and the Jagdpanzer both shooting at that, which is kind of an interesting decision. I mean,
Yep.
A bit of a waste in my mind, but what have you.
We're just seeing all the half-tracks and infantry up north slowly make their way through, and he just has a better concentration of firepower here. The Panzer Grenadiers trying to move up, and these are the Panzer Grenadiers with Panzer Strikes, so they are really bloody deadly against armor, but with all the half-tracks and even the MMG carrier being brought on up, those Germans are not going to get their machine guns online.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The MMG carrier in this particular kind of loadout, so to speak, this kind of push, really, in my mind, kind of excels. The half-tracks are probably the things your opponent's going to shoot at first, but you have the recon over here from the MMG. So you're spotting a lot of targets for that suppression, which is a really, really good thing.
Yeah, it's very cost-effective for only 10 points.
It absolutely is. Now, taking a look to the south, there was a brief time that the Panzer Lehr controlled several flags here. We can see in the meantime, Rifle Squad being brought down with a Pia, one's already kind of debarked, and a Sherman picking up a single half-track and seeing that really shift back to the west here. Don't expect to see a whole lot down here on the southern side for quite a bit of time. There's a Pack 40 sitting in here, there's an MG42 kind of controlling the field. A lot of opportunities for really the Panzer Lehr to turn into a field of death for right now. I think everything's going to be happening in the north.
Yeah, it's going to come, back and forth on its northern side, which does make sense for AS. He's playing Maverick. He needs to try and push heavy in a more flag-rich area. And up north, there's 1, 2, 3 flags he can potentially take, which will give him that all-important plus 2 point advantage. Currently the momentum is not in his favor. The Panzer Grenadiers do get a Panzer Tank shot off, but well, on the other side of that forest, he has a lot of angry vehicles with many machine guns.
Yeah, and trading what amounts to probably about half a squad of strength for a single MMG carrier, maybe not the best, but unfortunately that's what we have to work with, so.
M10's even getting into the fray, throwing in some long-range indirect fire. And they are just so bloody useful for just the utility of using them as artillery pieces as well. Because as we know in 1v1s, investing a lot in heavy artillery can really affect your front line. But the M10 can do both, baby. It can be front line and it can be back line.
Yeah, and that's really one thing that I admit I overlooked when I first took a look at the South Africans, is that grouse indirect fire. Because that's a lot of versatility. Other than that, you have to go on those 25-pounders, which are good, don't get me wrong, but they're just very, very slow. So, and that you can't really move them, of course. Yes. 234 on the northern side, fleeing from the Piat squads, which is quite funny. And he might be able to make it out, but there's a Sherman that's right there at the same time, too, so not sure what really to expect too much from him. I think he's probably going to fall pretty quickly here. Yeah,
and we're seeing the Jagdpanzer and Panzer IV trying to hook around to far north and decide to get a long-range engagement on the Sherman, because those tanks will perform much better in that sort of fight. But the Firefly is covering the northern flank. He's got eyes on the Jagdpanzer's blind as a bat. He is just getting buggered from long range.
And that's going to continue to happen. Yep, there he goes. But Falkwell finally comes in, finally drops his load. Doesn't quite get the kill he was hoping for, but, there is a Hummels on the northern side. Not going to do too much for right now, because I think that the front lines are a little bit too condensed for him to be truly, truly effective. But I've been wrong before, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, slowly but surely Nilla is solidifying the northern flank. He's going to be capturing his forests. There's really only a Battle Fuhrer and a Panda Grenadier to stop him. We're seeing 250s being brought out, but if he pushes too hard, he's just going to get blapped by the Shermans rather easily. I feel like at this point he really just needs to play the super heavy tank meta, so to speak. Get out those Panthers, get out those Tigers, and just try to trade efficiently against the tanks.
Yeah, but good luck with that, because at that point what you're still going to be getting is taking fire from 2 or 3 different sources, and that Firefly is more than enough to take on basically everything you've got and then some.
Yeah, Nilla is very good at positional advantage up north. Because the problem with this map is, once you lose those forest areas, you're going to have a bad time.
That's certainly true. Actually, forgive me, I'm watching as the first shots from the Hummel start coming down towards this grouse in the center of the map. And he hits the wrong zip code, unfortunately.
And those grouses are all self-propelled guns, so they can easily self-propel themselves out of the ray of fire. So that should, pretty much make him immune to counter battery just as long as he keeps moving.
True. We're going to see down to the southern side of half-track, very, very pluckily charging forwards and very, very pluckily getting plucked. But no, back to the northern side, like you said. So Sherman Command engaging that P4. Ooh, that's actually a rather good kill. Not because that somehow is a linchpin of the defense, but just the experience that brings to the entire section. Really quite worthwhile.
Yeah, he needs to start knocking out these Shermans and gaining some sort of tank advantage. Of course, Panzer IVs and CQC aren't exactly up to snuff compared to Shermans, but if you can, ambush and not get killed like he did, you can do decent. But in that case, it's just way too much allied firepower on the other side of that forest, and he got blapped.
Curious thing, actually, is that he cycled between shooting, I think, first the 57mm, then the Sherman, then back to the 57mm again. I don't know if there's a weird line of sight thing that happened or what it was.
Line of sight thing.
Ah, okay.
When units move back and forth, the thing keeps resetting, especially with a forest where you have limited visibility.
True.
The Porty and the autocannon half-track just blapped each other at the same time. So even though AS managed to get some good licks in there, he still does not have unit advantage up north. Oh, there's a Panther. Here's a super heavy.
Yep.
So he's going to have to really make some good work out of that. He does have a slight advantage over that Firefly, of course, but wrong move, and that's a lot of points down the drain, especially considering it's the Command Panther.
Well, one Panther did take out a Firefly in the center. There's still a Sherman 1B in the area, but the Sherman 1B, again, that's there just for HE, not for, the whole AP. And Firefly, not to be outdone in the north, they're just going to continue to throw shots at each other, and I think just kind of very... How do I put this without assaulting too many people? Perspective, very, very optimistic shooting, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just the threat of violence, not exactly the direct implementation of it.
True. And as I say that, of course, the Panther is going to force the Firefly into retreat, despite the fact that the Firefly actually technically has stabilizers. And was not able... Ooh, and goes down right there. 70 pound on the central side, going to engage that grill, and I think he's going to barbecue him pretty quickly. I don't think the grill's going to enough pressure on him to get rid of him. Certainly not shooting at the wrong thing. Wow, I don't even know what he was shooting at.
Yeah, that's a complete and utter miss, yeah. But this is one of the problems here of AS's tanks. He can actually fight very effectively at long range, as Panthers do renowned, but he has to push up with him. And then with the forest, with 17-pounders and 6-pounders, in the center, resource 6-pounder, shine shot a jagged Panzer and get a pretty good hit in. That's going to be tough. He does have Hummels, which are good, and as well as the 152mm Russian gun as well. So he does have the ability to put pressure in these forest areas to clear it out for the tanks. But that takes time, and he only has 5 minutes left in B phase.
Well, right now he's in a duel with a pair of 25-pounders with that 152, and he might be able to get the better of one of them, but I don't think he's going to get it from both is the issue.
That Sherman is a bit surrounded.
Surrounded, yes, but never outdone. Especially watch this come with a Piat and just take this guy out, and that would be awful to watch. That's going to come up first.
He's baiting in.
He's got him.
Oh!
He's got him.
Yeah, it's such a good trade. It's a risk of using the heavy tanks like that. So once you need to push up with them, they become target number one, as we clearly see, and well, you get piated.
And reasonably so, honestly, reasonably so. So, I mean, if we're looking at this right now, northern side very much, I would say, despite how the tickets look immediately, we're very much in Nilla's kind of eventual favor here. I feel like if he lasts another 3 minutes, that's all he's got to do.
Yeah, he's been trading efficiently with tanks. We still have the Firefly up north and 2 more Shermans as well being brought out. Oh yeah, Sherman 2A has the 76 mil, so that is also a rather tough customer for the Axis tanks to deal with.
Well, watching as this almost trying to drop shells on top of the Sherman, I've always admired artillery who think they can do that. I don't always understand necessarily why, since the HE kind of blast on that is very good against the unarmored material, but, the second that we have someone in there who is decidedly thicker skinned, not really what you want to be hoping for.
Yeah, he's just trying to do everything he can to stun up at Sherman so he can actually push up the tanks in the forest. Mounts a Blap Run squad of infantry, and he's also moving on Panzer 3Hs, but, well, the 3H is really short time in North Africa and on the Eastern Front. It's not really up to snuff against the South Africans, which somehow managed to make their way to Belarusia. They must have got lost.
Yeah, just that Korean conscript, I want to say, who fought for 3 armies. Just that guy again. But
Road tour.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those guys. It's like he's got to look at his passport, like, oh man, I wish I brought my passport with me. It's a bit crazy. Hurricane looking to deal with the Panther in the middle of the field, and it doesn't surprise me too much. In fact, I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Wow, it just completely one-taps him, because Hurricane anti-tank, even back in SD-44, deadly stuff.
Well, it just what it says in the tin, man. They want to rock you like a hurricane, so that works out really quite well for them. There's a quiet hero here though that I'd like to kind of call out, and that is that 17-pounder Cilliers over here. This dude just north of the Recce, hitting his other 17-pounder. This guy has got to have had 4 or 5 solid just weapon system kills already, and he's been attracting so much attention. And all he can do is just shoot vehicles, and he just picks them off one after the other. Like, this man deserves a medal if he survives.
He's such a good spot because he can cover the northern side on the road, which is a critical area to push, and he covers the entirety of the center as well. I'm actually quite surprised artillery hasn't been brought down on him sooner, considering he barely really moved this entire match.
Well, it has, but at the same time, a lot of stuff that's engaged him has just been, let's put it politely, a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
So, the southern side, there is an attempt to try to break east by a couple of half-tracks and a couple of Pischrek Grens. But I'm actually kind of fascinated. Now we have Verbovins, which, of course, technically are supposed to be anti-air, but for me, I've always felt more necessary using them as support weapons on any kind of infantry push. They are the MG42s on speed.
For me, they're the anti-everything gun.
That's also fair. But I mean, I feel like with a lot of the anti-air vehicles, I always prefer technicals over emplacements because you get so much more mobility and everything out of it. So,
because the problem is you get counter-batteried pretty much immediately against players who are worth it. So
that's true. That's true. And I try not to be as salty as I could be, but a lot of people I think just don't always prey on that flexibility. Let's say.
Yeah. And we're seeing Nilla has invested quite a bit in artillery. He's got 2 25-pounders and a 140mm gun, and now he is going to be counter-battery in AS's positions.
Oh, and there's no 25-pounder being brought in as here as well, so... And that's kind of what's happened here. We do see a couple of grills and a couple of tigers, so this is a ridiculously heavy investment. Considering he brought all 4 of those at the same time, he's been stocking up points for quite a bit of time here. You can see it, not a lot of foot sloggers on the field right now.
Yeah, this is probably the make or break Ardennes offensive push here. Because we're into C phase, the income becomes terrible for Maverick. These Tigers need a break on through, but still's a 17-pounder. He's still there, and he's ready to pound.
Well, there's that Panther D to the north as well, and I'm kind of keeping a vague eye on him, because he'll be able to engage a lot of the lighter material, of course. But I don't know. No, he doesn't have eyes on the Shermans just yet. No, he's got it on one of the Shermans, okay.
Yep. And forcing that Sherman blob to retreat back to the safety of the forest. That works pretty well for Nilla, because it's also just deterring AS from pushing up, because it's kind of like hedgerow combat. If he pushes up past the forest, he gets blapped by a bunch of angry South Africans.
Well, actually, I think the the M10s are trying to drop fire to the south. They're starting to shell their own positions. Unfortunately for the Lehr, I don't think, in the broad scheme of things, they're going to be in great shape. Especially now. Ooh, yikes. And the 17-pounders are opening up.
Oh, yeah, 2 17-pounders now.
Oh, yes. And Cillier claims another victim.
And here comes the Hurricane. Panther 4 goes down. Grills go down. All the armors, it's just going down, Khan.
You know, this is like that scene in A Bridge Too Far. You know, the opening push that they're like.
Oh, yes.
They have like 3 Pack 40s that turn everything to absolute dog poo, and there we go. Yeah, we have that tap right there, and I completely understand why. Yeah. It felt like more than 1,100 point difference. Wow. It really did. And there you go, Cillier. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 vehicle kills and a Flammenwerfer. So hitting a Zippo lighter as well.
Pounding him.
Williams picking up a 4-pack. So yeah, if you take Cillier out of it, at that point, it's a completely different match.
Yeah, he just knocked out the entirety of the German armor, especially knocking out those 2 Pumas right off the start, because that was really AS's best bet in doing an early game aggressive push to try to take a lot of territory up north, but instead he had to grind it in that central northern area, and that just works well for Sherman Armed Division.
You know, that's the funny thing, though, is actually, I just did some rough calculations. He's responsible for over 20% of the losses by the German team here.
Good for him.
Exactly. He deserves a Victorian medal or whatever the heck the South Africans give at that point. Losses, I mean, the lone Focke-Wulf trying to put the team on his back, picking up a few ground pounders here and there, but the South African stuff that they killed just wasn't valuable enough, and that kind of, I think, was the major issue here.
Yeah, it's just a very good deck for this map, because you got all the 17-pounders, and it's a really heavily armed Allied armor division, because you have 17-pounders, the American 76s, Fireflies. It's a pretty good one to go toe-to-toe with Panzer Lehr, and of course the problem with German heavy tanks in this game, especially in 1v1s, is they can be just a little bit too expensive for the actual value you get out of him. Well, if you lose a, German 76 mil, you got more of him.
Exactly. I mean, the weird thing here too is that if you look at the decks themselves, about the only area I think where the Lehr controls any kind of crazy advantage is in recon, which is great. Don't get me wrong. The recon, the light vehicles are amazing, but just not where you want it to be in the long term. So,
yes, you need a bit more firepower.
Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, that's what Lehr is. Hit hard and hit with a couple of things, because you're not going to have many of them.
Yes. Save up 10 minutes, get all the King Tigers, then you get blapped by Cluster RT, or Cluster Air Power.
Yeah.
Cluster RT is a different game.
That's true. We're not there yet. We got to wait 30 years. Any final thoughts, though, sir?
No.
Well, folks, in that case, then, it's going to call it quits for us today. Of course, come back over here on Thursday, but until that day, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.